What does the president's 4th of July speech given on the National Mall tell us about how Donald Trump would answer the question, what is America? Let's talk about that and other justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirschner here. You know, I was going to spend a good bit of time today talking about Donald Trump's 4th of July speech on the National Mall. You know, it was dark, it was depressing, it was misleading, it was combative, it was hateful. You know, Donald Trump casts Americans as a collection of different groups of people that need to be dominated and defeated. Can I ask you to watch a short clip, 10 or 12 seconds? I know we have all seen and heard enough from Donald Trump, but if you'll indulge me, just watch this short clip and then join me on the other side.
We are now in the process of defeating the radical left, the Marxists, the anarchists, the agitators, the looters, and people who, in many instances, have absolutely no clue what they are doing.
So that is what Donald Trump thinks of America. Basically, it's a group of people, a group of Americans to be dominated, to be defeated, whether that group is the radical left or the Marxists or the anarchists or the agitators or the looters or the people who have absolutely no idea what they are doing. Did you ever think you would hear anything quite so demeaning and insulting from an American president? Well, you know, as Donald Trump slurred and insulted and threatened his way through that dark and divisive speech, we learned everything we need to know about how Donald Trump views America. You know, he views it as little more than a series of geographic boundaries, right? To the south, a border on which a wall must be built to keep out the undesirables. To the north, a group of people that Donald Trump feels free to insult and demean at every turn. To the east and the west, well, we have oceans, waterfront property to monetize. And in the middle, you know, it's just a big patch of land to be mined or cleared or developed, bought, sold, exploited, certainly not to be protected or preserved or cherished. That's what America is to Donald Trump. What is America to the rest of us? Well, if you'll indulge me, I want to tell a quick story about my dad that helps define for me what America is, and maybe it will resonate with you too. So my dad was part of a generation born in the 1930s where military service was in their blood. And my dad signed up for the military, the Army, at the earliest opportunity. Truth be told, even a little earlier. He might have said he was older than he actually was because he desperately wanted to serve. He served on active duty. He was honorably discharged. He remained an Army reservist and actually retired as an Army reservist decades later. All the while, he worked as a high school football coach, wrestling coach, gym teacher, guidance counselor. Well, some years back, my dad unfortunately was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And he went to the Brooklyn VA, the Veterans Administration Hospital in Brooklyn, New York. They operated on him to see if they could take care of his pancreatic cancer, and the operation was not successful. They knew that his condition was terminal. And thereafter, over the course of many months, he was admitted to the Brooklyn VA and discharged, admitted and discharged. I would travel from my home and my work in Washington, D.C. as a federal prosecutor to spend as much time every week, every weekend with my dad, whether he was in the hospital or at home. My experience with the folks at the Brooklyn VA impressed the heck out of me. I know the VA gets a bad rap sometimes, but boy, I was uniformly impressed with everyone I encountered at the Brooklyn VA. So as my dad went through this series of being admitted and being discharged, he was admitted one day and it was clear that he would not again be discharged. But he was one tough old guy and he was not going to go down without a fight. And he spent months fighting at the Brooklyn VA. We all knew he would ultimately lose that battle. And I spent a lot of time with him in his hospital room. And people would stream in and out of his hospital room all day, whether they were nurses or doctors or the folks bringing my dad his meals, whether they were social workers or somebody mopping the floor or somebody emptying the trash. My dad was hooked up to all sorts of machines, monitors. He had multiple IV bags, whether they were, antibiotics or painkillers or just hydration. And every single person who came into the room would say the same thing to my dad before leaving. They would say, "Sergeant Kirschner, anything I can do for you before I go?" And my dad would do the same thing every time. He would motion them over, a little closer, a little closer. He would point up to one of his IV bags and he would say, "Can you just put Budweiser in that one?" They would laugh, even though my dad told that joke over and over to the same people day after day. And then before the person left my dad's room, my dad always said the same thing to them. He said, "Thank you for taking care of me." And every single person, whether they were there to mop the floor or talk to my dad about his prognosis, they would all say some variation of the same thing. They would say, "Sergeant Kirschner, you took care of us, so now it's our turn to take care of you." That is America. That's our America. It's a compassionate America. It's a kind America. It's an inclusive America. And it's the America we're going to get back to come January, when we have people in place again who care about decency and honor and service and empathy and integrity and compassion. We're going to get back to that America, and we see what we have to do to reform her and rebuild her. I believe we're going to see a renaissance in ethics in government service and in decency, kindness, compassion, diversity. It's going to happen. That's our America. Donald Trump can have his version of America. Geographic boundaries and groups of people to be dominated. We'll keep and we'll rebuild our America. Happy 4th of July weekend, everybody. I look forward to talking with you all tomorrow.